The House will come to order. All members take their seats, please. All guests clear the aisle.
There's a consent calendar.
I'm sorry. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All members, please record their presence by pressing the green button. All members, please vote. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 56 members present. We have a quorum. All rise for the invocation to be given by Representative Filela, who will also lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Representative Filela.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Eternal God, as the session continues, we ask your blessing upon the men and women of this, the people's house. Grant that we be good in thought, gracious in word, and great in spirit. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Representative. Next order of business is the approval of the journal. Is there any objection to the approval of the journal of the previous legislative day? Hearing none, so ordered. Communications. Clerk, do we have any communications? Proceed, please.
Representative O'Brien is unable to attend session today, Wednesday, April 7, 2021. Representative Scott Slater is unable to attend session today, Wednesday, April 7, 2021. Representative Alzate is unable to attend session today, Wednesday, April 7, 2021. Representative Jim McLaughlin is unable to attend session today, Wednesday, April 7, 2021. Representative Gregory Constantino is unable to attend session today, Wednesday, April 7, 2021. Is that it? Okay.
Thank you. Please place on file. Committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? There are none. New business. Is there any new business? I don't see any new business. We had a lot of 7Ds yesterday. Representative Jello with new business. Thank you. No other new business. Next order of business is the calendar. Leader, do we have a consent calendar today?
Yes, we do, Mr. Speaker. I move the consent calendar.
Thank you. Leader Blazajewski moves today's consent calendar, seconded by Leader Filippi. All those voting in favor of the consent calendar, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Do we have any proxies on the consent calendar?
Yes, we do, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of the consent calendar from the following representatives: Rep. Alzate, Rep. Constantino, Rep. Knight, Rep. Lombardi, Rep. O'Brien, and Rep. Slater. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Filippi on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same request in the affirmative, Representatives Chippendale and Roberts, please.
Thank you. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 65 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The consent calendar is passed. Clerk, to today's regular calendar, item number 1, please.
Item number 1, House 5568 Sub A.
Chairman Hull.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues.
H5568 Sub A by Representative Lima, an act relating to the towns and cities and subdivisions of land and zoning ordinance. The Committee on Judiciary recommends indefinite postponement of the original bill and passage of Substitute A. I move passage.
Thank you. Chairman Hull moves passage. Seconded by Leader Blazajewski. And Representative Morales, Chairwoman Vella Wilkinson, Chairman Abney, Deputy Speaker Lima, Chairwoman McEntee, Chairman Casey, Representative Casimiro, Representative Stephen Lima, any other Chairwoman Ruggiero as well, seconding. Any other seconds? There are no lights. I'm sorry. Deputy Speaker Lima. Seconding. Thank you. There are no lights on the bill. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski, for proxies, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of item number 1, in favor of item number 1 from the following representatives: Rep. Alzate, Rep. Constantino, Rep. Knight, Rep. Lombardi, Rep. McLaughlin, Rep. O'Brien, and Rep. Slater. And I have a proxy vote against item number 1 from Rep. Tanzi. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Filippi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same request in the negative, Representatives Chippendale and Roberts, please.
Thank you. Clerk will please lock the machine. 57 in the affirmative, 10 in the negative. The act prevails. Next docketed item, please, Clerk.
Item number 2, House 6014.
Chairman Casey.
Thank you, Speaker. Distinguished colleagues, House Bill 6014 comes to us from Representative Potter. This act is a cleanup act. It basically removes a sunset provision on the requirement that the Office of State Medical Examiners be responsible for a multidisciplinary team review of drug-related overdose deaths in an effort to reduce the prevalence of these deaths in the use of emerging trends in overdose protection. It's a good bill. I move passage.
Thank you. Chairman Casey moves passage. Seconded by Representative Speakman, Representative Amore, Representative Caldwell, Representative Donovan, Representative Morales, Representative Bia, Chairwoman Vella Wilkinson, Chairwoman Ruggiero, Chairwoman McEntee, Leader Blazajewski, Representative Henry, Representative Cardillo, Representative Kazar, Chairman Azanaro, Representative Shawcross Smith, Representative Agello, Representative Cortravan, Chairman Bennett, Deputy Whip Ackerman, Chairman McNamara, Representative Potter, Representative Stephen Lima, Chairman Hull, Whip Kazarian, Representative Baginski, Representative McGaugh, Representative Messier, Chairwoman Fogarty, Representative Hawkins. There are no other seconds. Sorry, Representative Felix, you're also seconding as well. Okay, Floor Manager Edwards and Representative Norrie seconding as well. There are no lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of item number 2 from the following representatives: Rep. Alzate, Rep. Constantino, Rep. Knight, Rep. Lombardi, Rep. McLaughlin, Rep. O'Brien, Rep. Slater, Rep. Tanzi, and Rep. Ranglin-Vassell. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Leader Filippi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same request in the affirmative, Representatives Chippendale and Roberts, please.
Thank you. Clerk will please lock the machine. There are 69 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The act shall prevail. Next docketed item, please, Clerk.
Item number 3, House 5626.
Chairwoman Fogarty. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Chairman Bennett. My mistake. You're up next, Chairwoman Fogarty. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bill 5626 by Representative Tabone is an act relating to health and safety, proper management of unused paint, stops the monopoly of the paint stewardship program and opens it up for bid every 2 years. Bill passed in committee 12-0 with 3 absent and would take effect upon passage. It's a good bill and the committee recommends passage.
Thank you. Chairman Bennett moves passage. Seconded by Representative Phillips, Leader Blazajewski, Speaker Pro Tem Kennedy, Representative Morales, Chairman Craven, Chairman Azanaro, Chairman Abney, Representative Stephen Lima, Representative Potter, Representative Messier, Whip Kazarian, Chairwoman Vella Wilkinson. Seconding. Any other seconds? Chairman Casey also seconding. Chairman Hull seconding, and Chairman Bennett seconding as well. Thank you. Floor Manager Edwards seconding also. Any lights on the bill? On the bill. There are none. I'm sorry? I didn't see, there you go. And thank you. Representative Newberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I saw this bill on the floor calendar, it triggered a memory. I knew we'd seen it before. I couldn't think why. So I just want to say I went back and I looked at the committee hearing on this environment, and there was no testimony by anybody in favor of the bill. I know it's Lieutenant Governor's bill, now the governor. I know he's very busy back in March. And the bill was held at the end of a calendar. I just think conceptually it's not a good look for us to pass a bill where the only testimony is against the bill, but that's not the main point I want to make. I did go back because that reminded me that we passed this bill 2 years ago. And I went back and looked at that hearing. That was in finance. And that was actually a real hearing. The Lieutenant Governor was there. Representative of the nonprofit that has the monopoly on it now was there. I'd say the best questions were asked by Leader Filippi. He didn't get answers to them from the nonprofit, and that was what the salaries were. Because I think the issue, if you're going to have a nonprofit run anything, is they don't make a profit, but they can pump up salaries of their staff. One thing that troubled me from the 2019 hearing was Lieutenant Governor McKee, or Governor McKee now, was asked what happens to the surplus? Because the real concern here is that this company apparently has been running a considerable surplus. And he said if he thought if they lost the bid, that they would get to keep the surplus. I don't know if that's legally true or not. That was what he said. If that's true, you're shaking your head no, so maybe it's not. I know you can't debate this, but it troubles me that we would do this before we at least got them to repay the surplus to us before it went out to bid to somebody else. But my bigger concern is something that my colleague, Representative Place, raised last time when he voted no 2 years ago, which is 2 years enough time for a bid for something like this? I think it's probably not. I think the concept here is good. I don't think we should have a monopoly on anybody, nonprofit or not, to do this service. I think it's an important service. But I think the bill itself is flawed. I don't know why it died in the Senate 2 years ago. Things die all the time here for various reasons. But I think this bill could be better written, and I think that before we pass anything like this, we should reconcile the books of this nonprofit and make sure they're not keeping money that really should be going back to the people of Rhode Island. So I'm going to be voting no on it, even though I think the idea is a good one.
Thank you, Representative. There are no other lights on the bill. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of item number 3 from the following representatives: Rep. Alzate, Rep. Constantino, Rep. Knight, Rep. Lombardi, Rep. McLaughlin, Rep. O'Brien, Rep. Slater, Rep. Tanzi, and Rep. Ranglin-Vassell. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Filippi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same requests in the affirmative. Representatives Chippendale and Roberts, please.
Thank you. Clerk will please lock the machine. There are 64 in the negative, 64 in the positive, 8 in the negative. The act shall prevail. Next docketed item, please, Clerk.
Item number 4, House 6158.
Chairwoman Fogarty.
Thank you, Speaker. Item number 6158 comes from you, a Solemnization of Marriage Act, and this is for Marvin Abney to perform a ceremony for Sydney Ordio Amato and Mardell Tuttle. I move passage.
Thank you. Chairwoman Fogarty moves passage, seconded by Chairwoman Vella Wilkinson, Chairwoman Ruggiero, Chairwoman McEntee, Leader Blazajewski, Representative Henry, Representative Carson, Representative Cortravan, Chairman Bennett, Representative Agello, Representative Shawcross Smith, Chairman McNamara, Representative Donovan, Representative Amore, Chairman Casey, Representative Casimiro, Whip Kazarian, Representative McGaw, Representative Messier, Chairwoman Fogarty, Chairman Corvasi, Chairman Azanaro, Representative Cardillo, Floor Manager Edwards, and Chairman Hull, as well as Representative Felix. Chairman Abney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Out of an abundance of caution, I'd like a recusal slip for this one, please.
Certainly. Please fill out the form, send it up. Let the record indicate that Chairman Abney is recusing himself from this vote. Anyone else on this bill? Leader Blazajewski, the bill's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please hit the green button. Any in the negative, please vote the red button. Now, Leader Blazajewski on the proxies, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I proxy votes in favor of item number 4 from the following representatives: Alzate, Constantino, Knight, Lombardi, McLaughlin, O'Brien, Slater, and Rep. Tanzi. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Filippi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same request in the affirmative. Representative Chippendale, please.
Thank you. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 65 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The act shall prevail. Next docketed item, please.
Item number 5, House 6178.
Chairwoman Fogarty.
Thank you, Speaker. House Bill 6178, also from you, Speaker Sakachi, is another very important solemnization of marriages. And our chairman, Mr. Chairman Abney, was going to be very busy this year. But this one's a little bit more special for him because this is the marriage of his daughter, Tess Abney, to Derek Danilo. I'm sorry. I can't read my handwriting. To Derek Danilo. So I support this immensely, and I ask that everybody else vote on this in the affirmative. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Chairwoman Fogarty moves passage, seconded by the entire House of Representatives, seconded by everyone. Chairman Abney?
Thank you. Out of an abundance of caution, I need a recusal form for this one also.
I think it's wise, and I hope you're not charging for your services for this one.
I am.
Congratulations, a very proud moment for the Abney family. I'm happy for you. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Leader Blazajewski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 47 of the House Rules, I have proxy votes in favor of item number 5 from the following representatives: Alzate, Constantino, Knight, Lombardi, McLaughlin, O'Brien, Slater, and Tanzi. Thank you.
Thank you. And Leader Filippi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same request in the affirmative for Representative Chippendale, please.
Thank you. Clerk will lock the machine. There are 67 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The act shall prevail. And that concludes today's calendar. Thank you. Announcements and introductions, please. I will go to Deputy Whip Ackerman.
Thank you, Speaker. Colleagues, today is Holocaust Remembrance Day. It is the day that Auschwitz and other concentration camps were liberated. As a famed writer, Elie Wiesel said, "There may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest." For those of you who haven't heard my personal story, my grandfather was a camp survivor. My father recently told me about how he and his siblings were forced out of the house by gunpoint with hands raised in Romania, where they lived at the time. My grandfather was then carted off to train number 2 for the camps. Everyone on that train perished, but my grandfather survived by pretending he was dead. They even impaled him to make sure that he was dead. And after sundown, he climbed out of a pit and escaped to freedom. We must never, ever forget these stories. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Deputy Whip. Thank you. Representative Speakman.
Thank you, Speaker. Request to be recorded in the affirmative on the consent calendar.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chairwoman Diaz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Request to be record affirmative in item 1 and 2.
So ordered.
Also, I have an announcement.
Proceed.
Today, one of our members is celebrating one of his best birthday, and it's one of the best, Mr. Speaker, because today I would like to welcome him to AARP as an official member, and later he will receive the AARP apron to cooking for those days that he don't feel like go out. He will receive a pat note to write it down the phone number because he don't remember the phone numbers no more. And also, he will receive a beautiful scarf that we wearing together when we celebrating the ARP Day in the State House. So help me to welcome our good friend, the House Floor Manager, J. Edward, for his birthday. Thank you.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Representative Edwards. I remember a few years back, I got in trouble as the leader because I didn't acknowledge your birthday, and that was because your wife was having a surprise birthday party for you, and she asked me not to draw attention, and one Larry Berman came up to me and said, "You're neglectful in your job and your duties." And I remember saying, it is better to be in the good graces of Mrs. Edwards than it is to be in the good graces of Whip Edwards at the time. Happy birthday, Jay, a healthy one, and many more. Thank you. Representative Marszalkowski, yes, happy birthday. Representative Marszalkowski, and then Representative Casimiro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Announcement, please.
Proceed.
With the consent of the majority and minority leader, I have a House resolution congratulating Isabel, a brave young woman, Isabel Morales, on being named the 2021 Hasbro Children's Hospital Champion Child. If it could be read after session, please.
Please, send it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Representative Casimiro, and then Representative Phillips.
Speaker, pursuant to Rule 7D, on the next legislative day, I will be introducing two new bills, well, a bill and a resolution. The bill is relating to abused and neglected children, and the resolution is asking the Department of Health to require nursing homes to track the number of COVID vaccines they give out to patients and staff.
Thank you. Representative Phillips, and then Representative Stephen Lima after that.
Announcement, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an IC for immediate consideration on the passing of Paul V. Palangi, seconded by yourself and Lita Blazajewski.
Excuse me. Proceed.
I would like it read at the close of business today, and also leave it on the desk for additional signatures for those who may want to. And if you don't mind, I'd like to say a few words about Paul.
Thank you. Please send it up and then continue.
Thank you. I have known Paul for about 25 years. He is actually a former colleague of our Director of Communications for the Speaker, Larry Berman. He and Larry started at the Woonsocket Call together in 1978. If you if you would stake around and listen to what was read, Paul has been a very accomplished media person and just a person. As I said, I've known him for many years, and that worked for the Woonsocket Call, the Pawtucket Times, Fall River. He worked in Pennsylvania for a little while in newspapers. He also owned his own senior digest, which he sent out monthly to senior citizens to let them know what is going on in the state and that. That's how well he was liked in the state for media and getting the word out. And just recently, he was hired in 2018 by the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council as their Director of Development. He, along with Rep. Casey and myself, when we volunteered for the Polar Express in Woonsocket, Paul was an integral part of that, making sure the kids had a great time on there, coming up to them, putting smiles on their faces, etc. The guy was just amazing. And I was very saddened when I heard first thing Tuesday morning when I woke up and the radio announced his passing. I was just numb. I couldn't move for about 3 minutes because I was looking forward to working with him again this year with the Polar Express. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for letting me go on a little bit longer than I should have, but I feel very, very sad about the passing of Paul.
Condolences to you and his entire family. Thank you. Please send it up. Representative Nardone, and then Chairman Abney.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. In pursuant of Rule 7D, I'll be introducing legislation on public utilities at the next legislative hearing.
Thank you very much. Chairman Abney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Announcement, please.
Proceed.
The House Committee on Finance will meet in room 35 at the Rise.
Thank you. Representative Barrows.
Request, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
Can I be counted in the affirmative on some of the votes that I missed and also on the consent calendar?
So ordered.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Whip Ackerman, and then Deputy Speaker Lima.
Thank you, Speaker. I forgot to mention that I have a resolution commemorating Holocaust Remembrance Day. With the permission of the majority and minority leaders, I'd like it to be read at the Rise and left for the additional signatures, please.
Thank you very much. Please send it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Speaker Lima.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker, did you say Charlene or Stephen Lima?
No, I'm sorry, Deputy Speaker Lima, you.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Speaker, can we go back to new business?
Certainly, new business.
Thank you.
Any new business? Deputy Speaker Lima with new business. Any other new business? Thank you. We'll go back to announcements and introductions. Representative Felella. And then we'll go to Floor Manager Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Without objection, could I be marked in the affirmative on item number 5, please? I missed the vote. Thank you.
So ordered. Will not change the outcome. Floor Manager Edwards, the birthday boy.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank all the members. I'd like to have the House adjourn today in the memory of Noel Berg. He was a long-time member and occasionally chairman of the Tiverton Planning Board. He was also a Korean War veteran, and he'll be sorely missed in Tiverton.
Thank you very
Speaker.
much. Our condolences to him and his family. Representative Stephen Lima, and then Chairman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to exercise Rule 7D. I have two legislative bills that I'd like to put in at the next session. The first one is related to motor vehicles, and the second one is related to the state affairs and government.
Thank you very much. Chairman Casey.
Thank you, Speaker. One request and one announcement, please.
Proceed on both, please.
If we could, I'm not sure if Representative Phillips did request that we close in memory of Paul Palanja as well, if that's a possibility.
Certainly.
And an announcement, the House Committee on Health and Human Services will be meeting today as soon as possible after the Rise. Those members will be meeting in the House Lounge. We have 2 items on the agenda. If you would please be prompt. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Leader Blazajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Announcement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, as a reminder, we will not be in session tomorrow because the vets is not available. Our next session will be next Tuesday, April 13th, and next Thursday, April 15th, both starting at 4 p.m. here at the vets, with committee hearings happening next week, Monday through Thursday. So committee hearings Monday through Thursday next week. The following week, April 19th to April 23rd, will be our annual spring recess. Also, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, please watch for your weekly email from Speaker Sokarchi this Friday. Attached to that email will be a priority form for you to fill out and list your top three legislative priorities. The deadline to return the form will be next Thursday, April 15th, just before the break. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Speaker, I just want to wish a very happy birthday to Floor Manager Edwards, and for his friendship, happy birthday, Jay. And additionally, a very happy birthday to Chairman David Bennett tomorrow. Happy birthday, David.
Chairman
Thank you.
Bennett, happy birthday, David. Thank you. Chairwoman Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Request for adjournment.
Proceed.
I would like the House adjourn in memory of Georgina D. Moreno. She died last Sunday. She was a long-life resident of District 11, and her family and residents will miss her. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and our condolences to her family as well. Resolutions. I have a House resolution commemorating Holocaust Remembrance Day on April 8th, 2021 by Deputy Whip Ackerman and many others. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. I have a House resolution expressing profound sympathy in the passing of Paul Palangi. All those in favor, presented by Representative Phillips and seconded by many others. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. I have a House resolution congratulating Isabel Mazzeri, I think, on being named the 2021 Hasbro Children's Hospital by Representative Marszalkowski, seconded by many others. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Well done. Any more? Is there any objection to transmitting all matters on the clerk's desk to the governor, the Honorable Senate, or the Secretary of State forthwith? Hearing none, so ordered. Leader Blazejewski moves that the House adjourn in memory of Noel Berg, Georgina Marino, and Paul Palangi, seconded by Leader Filippi. All those please stand for a moment of silence. The House is adjourned. The desk shall remain open.
I need two signatures.
Yep, okay, so Alzate's not here, Chippendale's not here, Constantino's not here, Knight's not here. Candy wasn't here. Okay, good. All right. Knight isn't here. Yep. Lombardi isn't here. Yep. McLaughlin. Yep. O'Brien. Yep. Perez. Okay. Ranglin. Bryce was. Yes. Okay. Ranglin. Yep. Robert. Yep. Slater. Yep. And Tansy. All right. All right. And I put on here who, if they were out, then how was the communication, and then CXY.
House resolution commemorating Holocaust Remembrance Day on April 8th, 2021. Whereas Holocaust Remembrance Day, Yom HaShoah, is a solemn day of remembrance honoring the victims of the Holocaust and those who showed resistance and amazing heroism during this horrendous period in our world history. 76 years ago, Soviet forces and shortly thereafter Allied forces liberated Auschwitz and other concentration camps, liberating thousands of suffering and starving prisoners. And whereas Holocaust is the term used to refer to the period in world history from 1933 to 1945, before and during World War II, when Adolf Hitler and the Nazis systematically and barbarically persecuted and murdered nearly 6 million Jews and another 5 million non-Jews throughout Europe because they were perceived to be racially inferior and life unworthy of life. And whereas the infamous and brutal killing grounds of Auschwitz, Birkenwald, Dachau, and Belsen today host the unnatural quiet and ghostly calm of somber rows of sanitized barracks and rusting ovens, and stand as speechless memorials to the 6 million Jews and 11 million total victims who succumbed to the deliberate Nazi program of genocide that was the Holocaust. And whereas this marks the 78th anniversary of the 1943 Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and the 58th anniversary of the dedication of the memorial to the 6 million. The citizens of Rhode Island, having our own rich heritage of resistance and tolerance for those who would trample individual liberty and dignity, applaud the courageous efforts of the ghetto residents, for whom day-to-day survival was a relentless struggle. Their brave actions in April and May of 1943 stand as a testimony to a rare and indomitable human spirit and extraordinary courage exhibited in the darkest hours of man's inhumanity. And whereas Holocaust Remembrance Day is a day to make a special effort to remember Zachor, it is a time to applaud the men and women who endured and who barely rebuilt their lives that have been so cruelly shattered. It is also a time to acknowledge with admiration those heroes who risked and often lost their own lives in order to save others. And whereas, in the words of the famed writer Elie Wiesel, there may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest. Rhode Islanders and people of all nations must take the time to remember the millions of men, women, and children who were slaughtered simply because of their beliefs and their heritage, or their strengths or their frailties. And we must firmly avow that the atrocities of the Holocaust will never be repeated. Now, therefore, be resolved that this House of Representatives of the state of Rhode Island hereby commemorates Holocaust Remembrance Day on April 8, 2021. We call upon our fellow citizens to join us in remembering and honoring the amazing courage and the enormous sacrifices of all those killed during the Holocaust, and we will reaffirm our pledge to work to eradicate bigotry, prejudice, brutality, and injustice through education and vigilance. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit duly certified copies of this resolution to the United States Holocaust Museum, the Rhode Island Holocaust Museum, the Jewish Alliance of Greater Rhode Island, the Jewish Community Center of Rhode Island, and the Rhode Island Israel Collaborative. House resolution expressing profound sympathy on the passing of Paul V. Palangi. Whereas it is with great sadness that this House has learned of the passing of Paul V. Palangi, beloved husband of his wife Andrea, devoted father of his daughter Olivia, and his stepson Jonathan Barry, and a well-respected newspaper journalist and publisher. And whereas Mr. Palangi was a graduate of Syracuse University, where he majored in magazine journalism and sociology before commencing his nascent career at a community newspaper in Hudson, Massachusetts. And whereas in 1978, Mr. Palangi joined the staff of the Call of the Woonsocket, where he worked as a correspondent for a year and was subsequently promoted to a full-time staff writer position covering news in the city of Woonsocket and the surrounding suburbs, including Medon, Blackstone, Northbridge, and Uxbridge. And whereas locally, Mr. Palangi was employed as the managing editor of the Times in the 1990s until becoming the paper's publisher from 1999 to 2004. From 2004 until 2014, he owned and published his lifestyle magazine, Senior Digest, until returning to the Times in 2014, serving as general manager and director of advertising until 2017. And whereas, in addition, Mr. Palangi had served as executive editor of the Norristown Times-Herald in Pennsylvania, as executive editor of the Fall River Herald News, as an accountant executive at Cumulus, and most recently had been employed as the Director of Development for the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council, where he has many community contacts, experience, and tremendous work ethic were invaluable to expanding the council's abilities and reach. And whereas Mr. Palangi was described by friends as a natural leader and just a great guy to have fun with, he often joined in to help on many area projects and was active with the numerous Blackstone Valley and Pawtucket area civic organizations, including the Pawtucket Corps of the Salvation Army and the Pawtucket Hall of Fame Committee, and was an avid Paw Sox fan. And whereas there is no doubt that Mr. Palangi left the city of Pawtucket, the Blackstone Valley, and this state more informed, enriched, and enlightened by his life's endeavors. His integrity and common sense enriched the lives of all who knew him and set a standard for journalistic excellence that is an inspiration to us all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House of Representatives of the State of Rhode Island hereby expresses our deepest sympathies on the passing of Paul V. Palangi, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit a duly certified copy of this resolution to Andrea Palangi and family. House Resolution congratulating Isabel Muridzai on being named the 2021 Hasbro Children's Hospital Champion Child. Whereas Isabella Muridzai, fondly known as Izzy, is the 13-year-old daughter of Daisy and Sam Muridzai and the sister of Lillian and Aria. She resides with her family in the town of Cumberland and is the 7th grader at Blackstone Valley Prep Mayoral Academy. And whereas Izzy was born with a life-threatening blood disorder called beta thalassemia major, which has resulted in her spending much of her young life at Hasbro Children's Hospital and enduring multiple difficult and painful procedures. And whereas beta thalassemia major prevents red blood cells from carrying sufficient oxygen to support normal body function. At the age of 1 month, Izzy began a series of frequent trips to the Hematology Oncology Center at Hasbro Children's Hospital in Providence, returning almost monthly over the next 10 years for life-sustaining blood transfusions, which eventually required the implant of a central line. And whereas, working with the transplant team from Boston, Izzy's parents learned that the procedure needed to help her with the bone marrow transplant. But because of her hereditary, as someone who is half Iranian and half Chinese, a match would be near impossible, as minority groups are incredibly underrepresented in the bone marrow registry. And whereas, miraculously, in 2018, Izzy underwent a successful bone marrow transplant at Boston Children's Hospital with the matching marrow provided by her younger sister, Lillian, who was a perfect match. The procedure was a success, and she is now considered 100% cured and liberated to be a carefree teenager and proud big sister. And whereas Izzy's miraculous journey and her unfailing optimism have made her eminently qualified to offer others facing similar situations with the sage advice to not allow whatever illness they may face to define them or limit their dreams, and that Hasbro will help you. Don't be afraid to go there, and it's a really great place. And whereas the exceptional team at Hasbro Children's Hospital included Dr. Angelica Chawala, Nurse Jody Lakotsi, social worker Cheryl Falker, and child life specialist Kelsey Mullen, who truly became Izzy's second family. And whereas her strengths and optimistic spirit made Izzy the perfect choice to be named the 2021 Hasbro Children's Hospital Champion Child and someone worthy of emulation and recognition. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this House of Representatives of the State of Rhode Island hereby congratulates Isabel Muridzai on being named the 2021 Hasbro Children's Hospital Champion Child. We moreover wish her happiness and good fortune, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be and hereby is authorized and directed to transmit a duly certified copy of this resolution to Ms. Isabel Muridzai.